But this is actually really good timing, because one of my major things for the first quarter next year is getting out there, meeting new people, networking, because I hate it. I'm shy, I'm introverted, hate talking to people. I have to go to, in the first quarter, I have to go to 12 networking events and have a conversation, a meaningful conversation with 2 new people that I haven't met before at each one.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like and that's kind of what my coaching session was on this morning, because I'm like, I hate it. Nah. And yeah, after we kind of did that, I'm like, and then I was going over your questions and writing out some stuff. I'm like, oh, this is perfect, because it's using the same stuff. It's like, I need to make sure that I'm standing well, and then I'm, breathing well, because that'll keep me calm. And if I get all anxious and like, oh, this is so awkward, then my brain will just stop. Whereas if I stay calm and grounded, then my brain will keep working, and I can think of new questions to ask and all that sort of thing. So it was like, everything just comes together.
And also, that's really good that you are saying that you can apply that just even to communicating generally with new people that you haven't met before, because exactly what you're saying about the skills that you've done through the questions and the course is exactly what you can use. And the thing is, especially if you're a little bit, not so self-conscious, but if you are introverted and you are shy, it sounds really, I don't know, twee to say it, but have ideas in your head about what you're going to talk about. Have ideas in your head. So it's about the same thing about knowing what your message is. So if you are going to these networking things and your intention was, I want to talk to 5 new people and make it interesting and I'm comfortable. That's right. And the thing is like, I know how this works. I am so confident in how it works. Trust me. But you got to trust yourself to give that message out. If you don't have that belief.
But then it's then projecting that outwards, which is where, I go all, I don't really have to, and I don't want to talk to that person. And, so it's like, it's again, the standing right and breathing right and all that sort of thing. So
yeah, getting into the character of what makes you confident. Like, that's why I put this on today, because as soon as I put one of these tops on, I feel so much more confident.
Yeah.
Like it's a little thing, but for me, as soon as I put, the plethora of these tops that my mother made for me, thank you, Mum, I feel like I'm in business mode. I feel like, okay, now I'm about to take authority. 20 minutes before, when the technology wasn't working, that was not how I was feeling, but it's different. All right, let's get into these questions, lady. So,
okey-dokes.
The first one, how did you find working through your unique tailor-made program?
I found it really fantastic. Like, we had a very short time frame to work in. It was basically, I threw you in and went, this is the deadline. Can we please squeeze everything into this time frame? And you managed that really well. And while the sessions were really intense, the homework and everything was really doable. And I could see, and you pointed it out as well, the improvements that I made session to session to session. So it was fantastic. And like I said, having it tailored to me, you had to, because you're like, this is how long my program is. And I'm like, well, I've got this much time. Let's do this.
So was there any point where you were feeling, I won't be able to get through this content?
Oh, the whole time. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is never going to work. I'm never going to be able to do this. But then we just did. Like, for me, I just had to go, Ange knows what she's talking about. I'm just going to place my trust in her hands and take a deep breath, a step back, and just do it. And just basically all I did was what you told me.
Yeah.
I just went, okay, she's told me to do this, so I'm going to do that. And worked a charm.
So it's about releasing those inhibitions and those kind of questions that you had and going, you know what? I can't. We don't have the time. This is what I need to do. And you trusted not just me, but you trusted yourself in the process as well. I mean, thank you. I'm so glad you trusted me, but you have to remember, if you weren't ready for it, if you didn't trust yourself, you wouldn't have been able to do it as well as you did either.
True.
So I just wanted to say that. Just one thing
Thank you.
before I
Yeah.
go to the next question, because you said that it was, I can't remember if you said it intense or full on. What was that? Where was that coming from?
That was because of the magnitude of what I was doing. Like doing this workshop, I, like the last time that I stood up and taught people something, I was a dance teacher in my early 20s, and it was a class of teenagers. So it's like, it was a big leap from that 20 years ago to a room full of professional, successful business women. And I am teaching a new concept which I developed myself and talking all about that. So and that's another, again, why I just had to go, just put yourself in Angie's hands, because I had all of that going on too. And my brain's like wanting to catastrophize over that. And it's like, no, let's just do the process. We'll work that out. But yeah, so that's why it felt so big for me, because I had this other thing going on as well. And essentially, I think it felt like you were just guiding me through it, because you did keep reading what I was doing, and you read my presentation and you made suggestions on how to pace it and different things to try in different areas, and that helped evolve that a lot more. That was really awesome.
That's great, because that's the thing is that what I want clients to remember is that it's a journey, and you start somewhere and then you go somewhere else. And that's really important, that people kind of know that everyone's journey is going to be a little bit different, but the fear around it is probably going to be very similar.
Absolutely.
So what do you feel like you've gained from doing this program?
I've gained back a lot of self-confidence that I lost over the years, because, like, as you know, in my business, I hide behind the screen a lot. Like if I do meetings and things, they're like this, they're one-on-one, they're via Zoom. Most of my work is done behind the screen, and I managed to just avoid putting myself out there and being the public face, so to speak. I mean, I had a photo shoot at the start of this year, which was great, and I had an amazing photographer, and got some great photos. But aside from putting them out there, that's it. It's like you'll see a photo of me, but you won't see me unless we have a one-on-one Zoom as a client. So that's so that's how I've had my business for the last 3 years. And even before I started my business, when I worked in government on both levels, I was always the support act. Like I was chief of staff to a federal politician, and I had to be the front man sometimes, but I was supporting her. So it was like, she was in the spotlight and I was sort of just standing off behind her shoulder. So I wasn't really out there. And then working in state government here in Tasmania, same thing, like the doctors and the nurses were the lead roles and I was just the support act. So I kind of, over the years, the confidence that I had when I used to perform all of the time just dissipated because I didn't need to tap into it. And so doing this with you helped bring that back. And it was in some really simple things, like just when you reminded me about how I need to stand, it's like I just put my body back in that position, and it's like something just went, oh yeah, I remember this, and everything just started to change. So the talk that I gave, because it was a post-COVID event in Tasmania, they had, and you have to do the social distancing. So to fit in the same amount of people they used to, they had to double the size of the room. So I actually found myself at the front of a very large room without any audio equipment, just having to project my voice. And fortunately for me, the training I've had previously, and then you reminding me of all of that and doing the exercises with me, I was able to just project further without, I just went, okay, turn that switch up, and everything else just happened. So it wasn't something I had to continually go, oh no, speak up, speak up, speak up. It was just like, okay, I'll just turn the volume up and then we'll get on with it.
So do you feel like, because you basically kind of answered this question anyway, because the question is there anything about yourself personally that you feel like you've learned from this process and doing the program?
Well, yeah, absolutely. It's the self-confidence coming back. It's, you know, I can do it. I can talk to people. I can stand up and do a presentation. Like, and I didn't make a fool of myself, despite the voice in my head going, that's totally what's going to happen. I didn't. I've actually had a lot of really good conversations come out of that. And I've been asked to speak at other events on the same thing from that. So
do you think like, as yourself as a communicator now, do you think differently? You basically said now you know that you can do it, but as far as just communicating your message, whether that be in a Zoom call or in person or even just having conversations, do you feel differently about yourself as a communicator now?
I do, in that I feel confident in the way that I present. Like, you know, I feel like I present confidence. So instead of standing there speaking like someone, you know, my words might get caught because my brain will go too fast for my mouth or something like that. But the way I stand and present myself still puts out that confidence. So even if I'm falling over my words, I am confident that my confidence still comes through in the way that I stand, and even in the volume of my voice. Like, in one of my networking things I go to, there's a lady there. She's only very young, like early, because I'm really old, so like early 20s.
We're allowed to say that. When we're in our 40s, we're allowed to say that.
Okay, good. And she's so quiet. Like, when she talks, everyone has to lean in to listen to what she says. And she, you know, she's a writer and a photographer, and she's like graphic design and that sort of thing. And apparently she's very good at what she does, but that doesn't come across at all, because she sounds so meek and mild and reserved. And it's like, I now know that that's not a problem that I'll have, you know, despite all the shyness and the introvertedness. It's like, when I get in speaking mode or just networking mode or just putting myself out there for my business mode, I know that there is no hope of me coming across like that. It's like, I'm there, I'm a presence, you can hear me. I might get muddled up in what I say, but you can hear me clearly. And yeah, I stand like I know what I'm doing.
I love the fact that you said that I'm a presence and I'm here. People can hear me. And that's sometimes just getting that thought and belief is a huge win. Honestly.
I think if I had to sum up what you did for me, I think it would be, you helped me create my presence. Like, I think that would be the best way to do it, because that is what you did. It's like, you know, we talked about the little asides and things, little comments I can make that are things that I would say, and, you know, you tapped into my sense of humor and that sort of thing. So you helped me build a repertoire in that respect. And again, I know I keep talking about it, but the way I stand, you know, the way I can project again, because my breathing has improved again. Over the years, sitting in front of a computer, it's gotten shallow, but now I've gotten back into the deep diaphragm type breaths. And so, yeah, you've helped me create a presence that I need to be able to move forward in my business.
I love that. I love that that's the sum up. Like you have, I'm such a great communicator. I love the fact that you said that it created a presence. That is so important, because so many people, when they want to be heard, don't feel like they can not command the room, but they don't feel like when they enter a room, they can feel themselves there. It's almost like they enter a room to hide away.
Yeah, which is what I used to do.
Yeah. And so the fact that you don't feel that way anymore, and you have that I suppose, groundedness about yourself, because it is about having, you know, all it is, your presence is just your personality, just dialed up. Simple. Like that's all presence is for anyone. Mine, unfortunately, is always dialed up. So I don't know how to turn it down, unfortunately, but it's just my personality, and that's all it is. And that's so great, because I'd love other people to know that that's something that they can gain from doing this course and working with me. Like that's gold, Mick. Like that's far out. It's amazing.
Like I think about this, the networking thing I'm going to tomorrow, which is the women that I did the tech mindfulness talk for. And it's like, I get really, I collapse in, I get anxious, and it's like, oh God, there are, all these really professional older women. But then I think of walking into the room, and it's like, I may be having those thoughts, but I'm certainly not going to be looking like I'm having those thoughts. I will be there, and I will be able to find the words I need to communicate with them. But it's, it's like, it's almost like stepping into a jacket or something, putting something on. I just walk into the room, and I'm confident that I will have the presence, even if I don't have the words to have a conversation with someone. At least they'll think that I'm being thoughtful rather than terrified and anxious.
But you just touched on something that I spoke about with you right from the beginning, is that it's a holistic thing, how I work. So remember how I said it's the three-pronged thing. It's the emotion, it's the mental, and it's the physical. If the ones that are always going to try to overpower us is the mental. But if we get the emotional, which is the intention, and the physical, which is your body, much stronger, that's 2 against 1. So even though you will still have those thoughts are never going to go away. Anyone ever says those thoughts are going away are lying. It's as simple as that, because it's how you use those thoughts to your benefit that's really important. But the fact that you said that your body and your intention about your focus and emotion about it was so much stronger, that's why you can have those thoughts, but you know that you're going to be able to go through with what you need to do and be successful at it. And that's exactly, that is exactly the message that I want people to know. Like, you literally are my poster child. Like, literally my poster child, Mick. I could not, that is exactly what I said from the beginning.
There you go.
Oh, that makes me so happy. I'm going to cry. Yeah. So what do you feel like mentally is the best kind of skill that you've gained from this process?
I think, well, it's the belief that I can do it, which you helped a lot, because you're like, you'd get me to do it. And then you'd say, see, just done it. Like, I think it was that, just turning the mirror back on me, and I go, I can't do this. And then you get me to do something, and then you go, you just did it. It was just, and you did that a lot. And it was just that constant feedback loop, I think, that you give. Like, I think I mentioned this to you early on when we were going through the content, and I was giving you feedback on it. The reinforcement loop that you do, the feedback loop that you do, is really, really helpful. Like, nothing I do, you just go, okay, that was great, and move on. It's like you always say something, and you always add something, or like, I found that really, really helpful.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, because that's feedback. I feel it's the only way that eliminates guesswork. If you get that feedback and understand why that was right or why that didn't work, then you know how to do or not do it again. And so for me, in my eyes, that's gold. Like, having feedback and actually having that immediate feedback is gold, because then it actually sinks in, it reinforces things.
And you've just hit on it too. It's the why it was wrong or why it was right. I think that's what I appreciated, because a lot of people, when you get it right, they'll just go, that was great. Whereas you didn't. You would go, okay, the reason that worked was this. So yeah, like you just said, that's the value that I found in the way you provide feedback. It
Awesome.
was giving the explanation as to why it worked was really, really helpful.
That's the whole thing, is that the whole point is to give you skills that you know why you have to apply them again and how to apply them. Because if I kind of said that was good and didn't tell you why, or didn't tell you how are you going to replicate that again? How will you get
Exactly.
better? How will the consistency keep going? It won't, because you're going to keep guessing every time. And my job is to take that guesswork out of you guys. So then that's where that confidence comes from.
Yeah.
Oh,
That makes total sense.
So if there was anything about the experience that you would change or differ, what would it be?
From my personal experience, do it over a longer period of time.
Yeah.
Like, it was really intense, but that was how we had to do it. We didn't have a choice. But I would extend it out a bit more. So then I could marinate, for want of a better word, in it a bit more. Like, I could play with it a bit more, but instead, like, I had to be really focused. And I think I would have enjoyed playing with it more. But again, that's the situation that I created for us to have to do the work in.
No, but it's good to kind of say that, because realistically, a lot of the time when I'm going to get clients, I think they're going to have deadlines just like you. You know, they're going to have that. So hearing that response and going, well, you know what? Yes, it would be great for you to be able to have this information sink in. Like, it's almost the same as when I practice a song. I usually practice it for a full day. I don't do it for one day. It's almost like I let that sink into my body, into my voice, into my psyche, and then I go back to it, and it's much more settled. So if you make someone aware, like, that's what we would love to do, but because of the time constraints, we won't. That'd be something that'd be good for them to know.
Yeah, and I mean, like, it's funny that you mentioned that, because my thought was, like, the best example I can come up with of where this has happened in the past is when I used to do singing lessons, and I used to do ongoing singing lessons with my singing teacher, just because I really enjoyed it. But then when they were auditioning for a musical and a role came up, then it's like we get really intense with the lessons. It's like the rest of the time was playing and exploring and just enjoying it and learning. And then it was like a really intense period. And I think the value for some clients might be of the mindset that, let's do this while you don't have a deadline. Let's do this fun, playful, enjoying, investigating, experiencing kind of period. So then when it does need to be intense because there's something coming up, like, you can just step in and really get super focused. And, like, you know, you could make the sessions more regular and make them like a half an hour instead of, we were doing 90 minutes because we had to try and fit everything in. But I could really see the value in doing things that way, like having an introductory kind of period over, I don't know, 6 or 8 weeks or something, and then focusing in on whatever comes up that you then need to prepare for.
That's great. That's a great thing to hear. Thanks, babe. Okay, so what's the best thing about working on yourself as a communicator? Like, for example, I would say for me, it's the connection of myself, that I have a much deeper connection of how I know how to communicate and how to vary that with other people, because I've had to work now with so many different people in so many different mediums, and still having a sense of who I am. But sometimes, you know, I can dial it up. Sometimes I have to diffuse it a little bit, or sometimes I need to be a bit more, not aggressive, but do you know what I mean? Like, that's how I've discovered myself as a communicator. You know, some people I know I can swear with. Some people know I can't.
I guess for me, it's really like, I've done internal growth my whole life. Like, I've always done mindset stuff and, you know, meditation and study Buddhism and all that sort of thing. So I've always worked on the internal self. And this communication stuff has for me been about getting this out and putting this out in the world so people can actually see what I am, who I am, how I am, and relate to that and learn from that. And, like, I mean, this whole 6 months has been about that for me. Like, you know, I think I engaged you, and then I also engaged a personal stylist to help me just work out colors that worked for me, that made me feel better and more confident. and like a hairstylist to help me get a haircut that was easy to deal with, but also looked good. So yeah, it's helped me really develop my external world, or the way I present externally. And it's helped me draw the things that I've been learning over the years and been brewing and creating, and helping just all that come out as a complete package.
Well, that's great,
So
because
there's
the thing is, having the internal is really important, because the external will just basically reflects what's internally there. That's all it is.
But I wasn't doing that though. Like, I had all this stuff going on inside, but I was being very shut down and shy and quiet and, you know, closed off.
Yeah. So, but I love that you said now
communication work.
It's all of you now. Instead of just one portion, it's a complete package now. And I love that. I think that's beautiful.
I think of it like, you know, like a house. Like, I've spent all of these years renovating the inside and got it really good. Like, there's always still room for improvement, but I've got it looking really awesome. And now I've gone and I've redone the gardens and repainted the eaves. You know, like I've made the outside reflect the inside. So you pull up and you go, oh wow, that looks really nice. And then you walk in the door and it's like, oh wow, this is really nice. So yeah, that's a way I was thinking about it earlier.
No, that's great. That's really good. I'm thinking to myself, I think I'm more of an external person. I think I always looked at the outside more, but that's just me being very superficial. Okay, last question. What would you say to anyone who is questioning whether to work on their fear of public speaking?
Do it. I mean, it's the way it's helped me move ahead in my business and in my life, and all these changes that I've got planned for 2021. I wouldn't have the confidence or the motivation to do them if I hadn't have done this work. So do it. Like, just do it. Especially if you're a business person. It's the best investment that you can make in yourself.
Oh, that's amazing, Mick.